Yeah, grade 10 life science students. Please just take note that Metric Hub is your one-stop channel for all your academic uh, success. Let's do this together. Just keep connected, subscribe, and share the channel to friends and families, and then together we can do it. You will never repeat. Let's grow and nest distinctions right now. So we wanna talk about energy flow. We want to talk about energy flow and what is energy flow in a food chain. It is actually energy flow uh, in food chain. It actually describes the transfer of energy from one organism to another as one organism consumes another one. So in other words, we are talking about a food chain where there is energy movement from one organism to another. We have got our grass, we have got our locust, we have got our eagle. So what we are saying is that an energy chain or an energy flow, it identifies the movement of energy from one organism to another as they are interrelated or as they interact or as they interdepend. It actually shows the transfer of energy among its organisms as they interdepend on each other, as they interdepend on one another. I'm sure this we understand, therefore, that this transfer begins with the producers. Producers are always it starts with the producers, but of course, we have the sun anyway. We have got the producers, which is like plants who convert sunlight into chemical energy. So plants they give chemical energy through photosynthesis and then moves up through different trophic levels as organisms are consumed. So depending on the length, on the size of the habitat or depending on the size of interaction, there is transfer of energy starting from the producer, which we are saying it is a plant that converts sunlight energy into chemical energy, and then it moves up through the various different trophic levels as organisms are interdepending and consuming each other. So, in other words, again, what you need to understand is that it's a one-way process. If energy transfer is a one-way process, it is a one-way process with energy diminishing, with energy decreasing at each level due to factors like respiration and heat loss. So you shall see that in a food chain or in a food web or in a energy flow, what happens is that the amount of energy that is passed from one level to another, it keeps on decreasing as a result of factors such as respiration and also heat loss. So respiration, it also results in loss of energy. Heat loss also results in loss of energy. So now we want to identify the components or the participators or the organisms involved in the energy transfer. We have producers, they are at the base of the food chain, which we are saying they are at the base of the food chain. Typically, they are plants and which capture solar energy and convert it into chemical energy like glucose through photosynthesis. I'm sure we remember very well that green plants are called producers because they make their own food, they produce their own food. They make that food through the provision of sunlight, which is done during photosynthesis. So that is producers. And then two, we have got the consumers, organisms that eat other organisms to obtain energy are called consumers. And then we have got herbivores, herbivores are plant eaters. They eat producers, which we said they are the plants. Carnivores, they eat meat, which is other animals. And omnivores, they eat both plants and animals. We have organisms that eat both, they eat both They eat both plants and animals. So that is what you call consumers. And then, in other words, again, we need to understand that in a food chain, we have got what is called energy transfer. As one organism consumes another, the chemical energy stored in the consumed organism is transferred to the consumer. So we are saying it is a plant, and then we have got the locust, and then we have got the ego. So what happens is that when each one, we are saying, when one organism is eaten, the energy that is in this plant, we are saying when plants or organisms are interrelating to each other, one, two, and then three, we are saying there is energy transfer there, which is chemical energy stored in the consumed organism. That is the plant being eaten by the grass, the the plant being eaten by the locust, and then the locust being eaten by the eagle. So the energy stored in the plant is converted into energy which is necessary for the survival and reproduction by this locust. The locust is therefore eaten also by the eagle. The eagle is therefore eaten by uh, another organism, and then the chain continues as it goes. So energy is being transferred from one organism to another as they are consuming each other. And then there is inefficiency. Energy is not perfectly efficient, and then a significant portion of energy is lost at each transfer, which we identified at first that energy is lost because of heat. Energy is lost because of what? Energy is lost because of heat. It is lost through respiration. We identified that. So, uh, metabolic processes and through waste products also, they are there to lose, or they are sources of loss of energy. So, the third one, which we need to talk about, is what is waste, the release of waste products. You understand? So, let's talk about trophic levels. Each level in the food chain, from producers to different levels of consumers, is called a trophic level. Each level in a food chain, from producers to consumers, we are saying each of the levels is called a trophic level. As you move up the trophic level, the amount of available energy and the number of organisms tend to decrease. So you have got also uh, a pyramid of numbers that we are going to look and find show right now. So food chains and food web. In a food chain represents a single linear pathway of energy flow. That is a food chain. It identifies a single linear pathway of energy flow, and then uh, food web, which are more complex, show the interconnectedness of multiple food chains within an ecosystem. As organisms interdepend on each other, there is a multiple, or there is a web of connection which we can identify as a food web. So a food chain in an ecosystem is a linear sequence through which energy and nutrients pass as one organism consumes another. It illustrates the flow of energy and nutrients from one living thing to another. It is essentially, it shows who eat who in a biological community. So I'm going to show you right now the diagram that illustrates a food chain. So it shows who eats who in a biological community, in a world ecosystem. It identifies the flow of energy in a linear sequence, which it identifies nutrients passing from one organism to another as they consume each other. So I want to show you just now. So energy flows through an ecosystem. It we are saying it is one direction that we have already mentioned. Radiant energy from the sun is converted into chemical potential energy during photosynthesis. Carbohydrates are stored in the green plants, which are producers, which is also another point that we have already also mentioned, that solar energy. is converted into chemical energy during photosynthesis, making carbohydrates that are stored in the plants. And then primary consumers obtain their energy from the plants that they eat. That is the transfer of energy that we talked about again. So secondary consumers obtain their energy from eating the primary consumers. I'm going to show you this illustration just now. And then obviously we have got tertiary consumers obtain energy from eating the secondary consumers. So we are saying this is a chain of interdependentness where the producers are eaten by primary consumers. Primary consumers are eaten by secondary consumers, having energy from the primary consumers. Then the secondary consumers also pass their energy to tertiary consumers by being eaten by them. So producers and consumers are decomposed by bacteria. Producers and consumers are decomposed by bacteria and fungi, and energy is released into the environment. We are talking about the what? The energy cycle. After everything is done, whether they are plants or they are animals, when they die, the bacteria and the fungi, they decompose them, releasing back the energy or the nutrients back to the environment and back to the soil. So from the sun, the transfer of energy from the sun through the green plants and various consumers is known as the food chain. So now I've just drawn a simple food chain that we can look at. So we have got, I can start it from here where we have the sun. So our sun produces the solar energy. It produces the solar energy, and then the solar energy is passed to what? To the grass, which is number two. So it is using the chemical energy, it is converted into carbohydrates by the plants. And then obviously the plants, they need water for them to grow. So when they grow, we are having our number three, a primary consumer. Our primary consumer, which is a grasshopper, is a primary consumer because it feeds on the producer, which is the grass. So primary consumer passes the energy. This is energy being transferred. Energy is transferred to the secondary consumer, which is a frog. So this is a secondary consumer. It eats. Secondary consumer uh, uh, feed on primary consumer. So hence we have got the energy again being transferred. The frog is transferring its energy is transferred to the snake, which is our tertiary consumer. Our tertiary consumer, which is the snake. So as you can see, we said three, therefore here we have got four, and then we have got four there, and then we have got our five, the snake, and then the snake also passes the energy. When it eats the frog, it has got its energy, and then the energy of the snake is also eaten by a final consumer, which is a hawk. A hawk eats the snake, and then the hawk, it dies, and then it decomposes. Then we have got the fungi or the bacteria, which can come and eat what? It can come and eat the hawk when it dies. So as you can see, this is a single pathway. We are saying there is only one pathway which is moving from the sun, the producer, primary consumer, up to the tertiary, and then we have got the decomposers, our bacteria or the fungi. So the pathway of energy movement, it is just single. And one thing that we need to understand is that energy is lost at each level as a result of heat, as a result of waste, as a result of what? Respiration. That is what we need to understand when it comes to what? When it comes to the food chain. When we talk about the food chain, so we cannot forget that. We must not miss that one. So trophic levels are Trophic levels, I once already mentioned them, that living organisms occur at different feeding levels in an ecosystem. These feeding levels are trophic levels. So I said that we have got the producers, which is green plants produce their own food and form the first trophic level. They are the greatest, they have the greatest amount of energy because they are the primary ones. They are the ones which support the entire ecosystem. They have to produce more energy in order to support, in order to support uh, the flow of energy throughout the system. So we have got the primary consumer, which we said it is the herbivore which feed on the second trophic level. This we have already mentioned and I identified them. The secondary consumer, the carnivore, we are saying it eat what? It eat meat and then form the third trophic level. They are feeding on the secondary. They are the third, and then we have the fourth, which is the tertiary carnivores that feed on other carnivores, form the fourth trophic level, and then the omnivores, which we say that uh, may be part of the second, third, or a fourth level, depending on the food chain they are, depending on the food they eat. So omnivores, we are saying they can be found on second, third, and fourth trophic level. That we must not forget as well. So decomposers may be part of any trophic level that we have already mentioned again. And then energy is used by organisms at each trophic level. These organisms use some of the energy for growth. Then some of the energy is lost as heat energy through the respiration. Some energy is lost in urine and feces. This energy is therefore not able to be transferred to the next trophic level. This is just a repetition of what we have been talking about of loss of energy. You understand? So finally, not energy can be transferred from one organism to another, but energy cannot be created or destroyed. That is a very important point again. It cannot be created or destroyed. Energy is lost with the transfer of energy from one trophic level to another that we have already talked about. So I guess you can see this one. It is now a food web. We said a food web. Therefore, what you can see is therefore that there are quite a lot of food chains that are connected together. There is no one pathway. There is too many pathways that are there. So we have got, maybe I can write it from here. We have got the producers, we have got the primary consumers, we have got the secondary consumer, and then we have got the tertiary consumer, which is on the fourth level. So what is happening is that we need to identify all organisms that are eaten and that eat another in the various or in a certain habitat or ecosystem that is given. So a food web is a natural interconnection of multiple, of many food chains within an ecosystem, graphically representing feeding relationships and energy flow. So what is happening is that decomposers, the bacteria and the fungi here, it is also feeding nutrients to the tree. The tree is eaten by the deer. The deer is eaten. It is eaten by a cheetah. A cheetah also it is eating the hare here. The rabbit is also eaten, is also eating the grass. We also have the grass being eaten by the squirrel. We have got also the grass being eaten by the seed eating bird. We have got the bird being eaten by the owl. The fox also eat the what? The mice. So hawks eat this mice again. The mice is eaten by the snake. So what happens is that there is an interconnectedness of multiple food chains within an ecosystem that are graphically representing the movement of energy and feeding relationships that we have shown. So the arrows are showing, the arrows are showing transfer of energy. They are also showing feeding relationships. They are also showing feeding relationships are also shown by the arrows that we are seeing there. So they are also showing transfer of energy and feeding relationships that you are seeing. So primary consumers are actually uh, saying that they are being decomposed by bacteria and so forth. We have got that movement, we have got that trophic level. So we are given the interconnectedness that I've been discussing or I've been illustrating. So it illustrates complex. It illustrates the complex of who is who, interactions, showing how various organisms are connected through their consumption habits. A food web which is larger and more comprehensive. That is one thing that you should see. It is larger and more comprehensive than a food chain. Is formed by connection of many food chains. A food web accurately depicts the flow of energy in an ecosystem by illustrating the interactions between the various organisms, including instances where single organism serves as a prey to multiple predators or consumes various other microorganisms, unlike food chain. I guess this is shown by the arrows that you are seeing. We are seeing arrows that are going, for example, to the fox. The foxy, it is eating the mice, it is eating the seed, it is eating the seed bed, it is eating the squirrel, and also it is eating also the rabbit. So there are many arrows that can show one organism meat eating many of them. So what we are seeing is that we are saying it shows instances where single organism serves as a prey to multiple predators or consumes various other microorganisms, unlike a food chain. A food chain has got one pathway and does not have many interconnectedness relationships that we can see here. So, classy, this is it. This is a food web. And please be able to identify when it comes to exam. It is very important that you are able to see every organism that can be eaten or that can eat another. So you might be given the various organisms and then asked to draw a food web. So you need to show every relationship and energy transfer that might exist on the given elements or the given animals and organisms that are existing on the food chain. So please just take note of that and don't make mistakes. It is quite easy and is quite possible. All the best in this end of term exams, and keep reading and connecting to Metric Hub, share and comment, and also keep you connected by turning on the notification button. Thank you very much.